was going down on... I am not...
All right. Were you able to hear that? I think I screwed up.
I didn't hear anything.
You couldn't hear that?
Nope.
Really? That was just all dead air.
Yeah. Nothing
Really?
played. Yes. I'm not gaslighting you.
How about if I do this?
Bring in the boss one, I'm gonna get mine. Go do the crime, if you can't do the time, don't tell me how you all be down. When you smile in my face, but you play me like a clown, it's a fool bitch. So just step back, I'm mad that when I come down straight. I thought you were my piece, but you play me out. Now I'm mad as hell, and I'm full of doubt. Who you wanna roll with? Who you wanna roll with? Lefty, let's roll. Who you wanna roll with? Who you wanna roll with? Lefty, let's roll. I'm back on the scene, it's time to get mean. I'm a lean, revolution machine. For what people stay, they sway. For today is good as any day. Y'all feel slightly this, let's resist. Raise your fist and pump like this. Promises all the time. Don't cross the line, but you know it's right. Who you wanna roll with? Who you wanna roll with? Lefty, let's roll. Who you wanna roll with? Who you wanna roll with? Lefty, let's roll. Who you wanna roll with? Who you wanna roll with? Lefty, let's roll. Who you wanna roll with? Who you wanna roll with? Lefty, let's roll.
I will die. Get something in your rigor. 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 I will die. Get something in your rigor.
Who you wanna roll with? Who you wanna roll with? Lefty, let's roll. Who you wanna roll with? Who you wanna roll with? Lefty, let's roll. Who you wanna roll with? 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 Who you wanna roll with?
Happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday.
What's up, everybody?
How we doing, everyone? Happy
That's
post St. Patrick's Day.
He didn't hear it that time either, right?
What's that?
He didn't hear it that time either, right?
No, I tell you what, man, I feel like crap. This morning was cold, so my back was stiff. I couldn't move. There was like no amount of cannabis that would help me, so I had to do a lot of dabs this morning. I dabbed myself out so much this morning, I almost went back to bed. Went back to bed. Oh, man. Hold on. Bucketman, are you there?
How we doing? Sorry, I've got some. The CRC finally responded to me about getting my password reset for my account so I can get my badge together. So, just giving them a decent earful.
Hello, Michael. We are going to talk about testing today. We're going to have Chris Goldstein on today to talk about testing and the secret shopper program that's going around New Jersey, shaking things up really in the industry. It's shocking numbers I've seen here. Some are 40% off. That's crazy. And they're also going to do lab testing because not all labs are created equal as well. So the labs are going to be tested as well. But doesn't the state have to calibrate these labs like they do with everything else? Like they have to go like once a month and calibrate, make sure everything's correct. So if the state's doing that, I don't know how the labs should be so different in their results. Am I wrong there to assume that? I'm assuming. I think we lost Bucketman.
Who did we lose?
I thought you froze.
No, I didn't. I told you I'm giving the CRC an earful.
Oh, you're giving them an earful. What are you saying? Tell me what you're saying.
I've been waiting over a week and a half for them to give me my password reset. So much so that I called today, and if you want to talk to them about, you can talk to them about two things if you talk to them through the customer service or the phone line. It's either licensing or patient. Licensing goes right to a voicemail that doesn't work. So, let's just put that out right there. And then if you're a patient, which I luckily am, I was able to work my way through to get someone to advocate for me. Which I'm trying to tell them right now, which they responded with, it would have been helpful if your employer reached out to state contact for most update information. No. My employer, the Garden State Natural Greens, my manager, is dealing with enough with having to deal with stuff from the state. If I say my password needs to be reset, like any other website, unless it's automated, you jump to it and do it. When I work in this industry, like anyone else does, I try to be helpful and I try to be accommodating and I try to be quick about it. I don't drag my feet. When you drag your feet, you insult people that you serve. That's just the end of the story. And yeah, I don't let that stuff go. I'm gonna yeah.
Brother, what's that? What's that, brother?
That was appropriate. So yeah, the secret shopper program has been going on for a while, and it's going to get bigger and bigger. I believe it's called SafeLeaf. Is that what it's called now? SafeLeaf.com. And it's a very good program. I want to know where these dispensaries are. Where is this weed coming from? That's so off. That they're selling, instead of distillate, they're selling something else and mislabeling and man, that's not what patients need. That's for sure.
No, absolutely not.
It's very hurtful to patients. No wonder we can't find the strains that we need. No wonder, because the strains aren't even correct. The strains aren't as potent as they should be. What's that?
They're all hybrids.
Yeah, why can't I hear you?
They're all hybrids.
There you go. Yeah, hybrids, and it's totally different. Is this the right mic? Yeah, that's it. Okay. Yeah. If you want to join us, you can just throw those headphones on because you can't hear Bucketman. You probably. But
you can't?
I don't know if he can hear you.
I can hear.
You hear him? Oh, okay. There's headphones on the table, so he can hear you. We don't have speakers in the studio here. I don't really need them. but we might have to rethink that.
Okay.
Okay, all right.
Gave them a decent mouth open.
I was just over there at the consumption lounge, looking at that huge sound system that's over there now, and they're bringing over the earthquake speaker now. It's just going to be ridiculous this year over here at Mad Hatter. They're going to have 2 acres of parking lot to use as they will. We're going to set up tents. We're going to have parties all year long here. You have to step over the demarcation line. There's a yellow line in the parking lot that you have to step over to consume.
Can you and I stand there one day like pseudo cannabis Korean soldiers at like the divider line of like, you cannot cross this line and smoke?
Well, we need to know, is it soccer rules or is it NFL rules? Does the joint have to be over the line for it to be a foul, or a foot over the line?
The joint.
The joint has to be over the line for you to be,
because the cannabis is another thing that's not allowed to be openly brandished on that side.
Dodgeball rules.
Dodgeball rules.
One foot on the line. That's all you need.
But the person isn't the illegal factor. It's the thing they're ingesting and using. I would figure that it would be more the item entering the line itself. Like, yeah, I don't know, that's
just don't get caught. It's a gray area.
It is. I guess we just we leave it. No, don't leave it to people's interpretation. That'd be stupid. People's interpretation is all screwed up nowadays. Paco.
Hey, Paco.
What's going on?
How we doing, my friend?
I'm all right. I can't complain. Hanging in there. How you guys doing today?
I think it's good. That's good. Now we can't hear Lefty. How was your St. Patrick's? Yeah, it's been a while since you've been on. I haven't seen you in a bit.
Yeah, it's been a bit, huh?
What have you been up to?
Hibernating, man. Staying out of the cold.
Dude, it's getting warmer out though. It's getting I've been surprised these past 2 weeks how nice it's been.
Yeah, it's been warming up very, very nicely the past couple of weeks.
Yes, so much so. I love it. And it's definitely aiming up to be a pleasant 420 as far as weather.
Hoping so.
I hope so.
Tell me the Mad Hatter is doing an Easter Sunday 420 event.
The Mad Hatter event's going to be on the Tuesday, Earth Day. Huge Earth Day event where we're going to talk about home grow. We're going to have all kinds of stuff going on. We'll have a panel. We'll have experts teaching you how to home grow. We may even have seeds.
Are we doing a live cast?
We're going to do a podcast. We're going to have it live streamed, and it's going to be a lot of fun. There's going to be sponsors, so there'll probably be a dab bar or something going on there. We haven't nailed everything down yet, but we have sponsors. Just a Woman Cannabis is on as a sponsor, so already we're hitting the ground running with this one. This is going to be fun.
It's going to be great. It's going to be fun.
And then don't forget April 5th, right? April 5th is a party here. Is that the 5th? Yeah.
The 5th. Oh, yeah, put that on my calendar.
5th. Sun extracts, garden greens, maybe. We're going to have a bunch of vendors for that one as well. That'll be a fun one.
Mad Hatter Party 5th.
So Chris is going to join us in about 10 minutes. I'm going to go out and hit the rest of my blunt. But Chris has a lot. I love when Chris comes on because he has a lot to say, and he always has stats to back up everything he says.
He's been on before, right?
Oh yeah, he's got great stats.
He was the guy who we had on a couple months ago who popped on, who was talking about something else about the production.
Yes,
I
Rob, I didn't know about the rolling in the store. I didn't know. So I'm just going to do that outside because I need to prepare my cannabis as well. So I'm going to do that outside.
You take medication and cannabis at the same time. Genius tablets. They make your brain work good.
All right, I'm going to go out and.
What are you smoking there, Paco?
Right now, I just took a dab of some GMO.
Nice. All hail Bongholio.
Bongholio.
Yes, he's right here. Bongholio is right here. We love Bongholio. Bongholio is such a great bong. He brings you medication while he's singing you a song. Bongholio is such a great bong. Thank you. Well, thank you, Aurora. Thank you. We appreciate that. We try hard.
Thank you, Aurora. Good afternoon, my good sir, of the gentleman of the dispensary.
The dispensary guy in the house. He's always out there doing podcasts too. He's
Please go check out his podcast.
Yeah,
I believe
check
it's every
him out.
Thursday. He's live talking what he's smoking, what's going on in the industry.
Yep. All right, so let me take a walk out there. Let me get StreamYard on here.
Definitely cool to do. Dispensary guy, if you're listening, you got to join me for Bucket of Buds one day and come to a dispensary with me and put the shine on the people. I think you'd be a good person to do that with. And if you haven't, dispensary guy, please go check out Bucket of Buds. So far, I've been to Budzuka, I've been to Urban, and put a shine on a lot of the awesome people in the industry. And I'm gonna get to Mad Hatter soon, and Cannabis, a couple of places on the line. This has got. I'm gonna be honest. It's got a very warm reception from people, and I've been very pleased with that. I like, it's an awesome industry that we work in here, and I like to be able to show off everyone that I can, because everyone brings something individual to the table, as I've proven so far within this this series I've done. Budzuka, for example, very Latin energy within their group there, and you can tell by just the color scheme of the whole dispensary altogether, and they see the past of it and how stigmatized it's become. I want to improve that, whereas Urban, not that they don't follow that, but their focus I see more as being experienced guys who have been doing this since Yes, yeah. I was just saying, guys at Urban, these guys have been doing. A lot of them have been doing it since the '90s, before this was really a normal thing for us. So yeah, the hedge maze. I've been trying to come up with a fun little description for every dispensary I'm in. The Budzuka was like living inside Bubblicious. The hedge maze for Urban. God knows what adjective I'm going to come up when I go on the Mad Hatter. God. But it'll be positive. It'll just have a shocked adjective to it out of necessity. But yeah, it's been fun so far. Lefty's getting sorted. He's in his car. He's going to smoke. Oh, we're pink, and now we're wow. What's happening? What are you doing? I mean, I'm liking the change up here. Maybe a different color, like green or red or beige. No, why did I say beige? That's stupid. Nothing. That's bold choice. I've got a bunch of things I'm smoking right now. I've tried to also, with every dispensary I go to and visit, try to make a little purchase when I'm there. I picked up the Golden Goat from Urban, and I love me a good sharp-minded sativa. I also like existing in a circle, like Lefty has made me do right now, like I'm in the end of a cartoon, and now I'm in a box. But I like the Golden Goat. To get back to the cannabis conversation, it's a good sharp-minded sativa. Definitely. Look at us now. You just won't stop. You're not giving my brain a rest to be able to stay on point. Give me too many goddamn distractions of jumping around from this and that, whatever. What are you gonna do? He's a special case. This guy. I like the Golden Goat though. It's a nice, sharp-minded sativa. I definitely has its energy uplifting factors, but it's really more for the mind. I find this one. For me personally, the name it centers in the goat part, where you can't be a goat if your brain isn't set to work like a goat, and not the animal, the greatest of all time. I've always thought that was confusing. It's just goat. I was like, you're a goat. Well, I don't know what you mean by that, sir. Don't buy any pre-rolls. Okay. I will say,
pre-rolls?
dispensary guy, I have been very pleased with the Just a Woman Cannabis's pre-rolls, and I feel like they're very different from the normal game of pre-rolls. I implore you to try them. The Rose one, Lefty can back this one, the Rose Petal joint. Very good, very pleasant to smoke, and it didn't canoe, if I'm correct. Lefty will
it was
confirm.
lovely. I really enjoyed that a lot.
So,
me working in the cannabis industry commercially, I'll never smoke a pre-roll in my life, ever.
These are something else. Like, I get what everyone's saying about the pre-rolls, but these are something different. I'm glad you see it, and you know what? Here's the other thing too. I don't think I've gotten to share this with you, dispensary guys. That it's going to be really interesting seeing a woman's approach to cannabis on the general market, and how they approach people's day-to-day issues with cannabis, from a woman's perspective. I'm excited.
I'd rather roll my own joint and roll it myself and then put some rosin in it, to be honest, and make it.
And I absolutely get that. But here's the other thing too. I've seen certain strains that they've only released so far in pre-rolls or at certain points. So if it's like that, like if I like see the strain that I really like and I don't see it in a flower like weight, then I'll yeah, sure, if I have enough money, I'll grab a little pre-roll of it because I like that strain. I'll either have to break it out of the pre-roll, but I get what everyone's saying about it. It's personal preference. What are you going to do?
I don't normally like pre-rolls, but I do love Just a Woman Cannabis pre-rolls because it's not a regular pre-roll. It's rose petals, it's tea leaves, it's banana leaves, it's
lavender.
It's just different. And lavender, it's just amazing, different flavors. I really like that a lot. So it's a little different. It's a little different for me with those pre-rolls.
So they're cannagars, not pre-rolls.
Yeah.
Cannagars, pre-roll would be paper. Anything else
it's when you differentiate like that, people get confused or
that's why we're here to educate people in regards to the industry.
And
it's a cannagar, not a joint. And pre-roll would be in paper.
Yeah. I feel like people definitely equivalent a certain amount of size to when they think of cannagar, rather than just the raw materials of it.
Those are things we talk about during Girth Day. Not Earth Day, but Girth Day. We talk about cannagars during Girth Day.
On both days. Cannabis practices and girth practices. There you go. I just won't be here for one of those conversations.
I had a grower reach out to me to tell me about some stuff because he saw the post that I put out and he had some things to say, and I was very interested.
Yeah.
Hey, I'll repeat it. Let's see. The THC will be all over the place. If you have 10 pounds of weed and they pull 100 grams for testing, you're testing only those buds, not the other 4,000 grams. So potency will vary from bud to bud, batch to batch. The microbial and mold works the same way, but shouldn't be popping positive after popping negative. And also labs do not differentiate between good and bad microbial. Oh, thank you, brother.
Microbials. Oh, no, microbials.
Let me look at the joint. I didn't bring it. hash hole. Labs do not differentiate between good and bad microbials. For example, living soil will have higher, but it doesn't mean it's bad. And the same plant could test 26% and 16% THC, depending which part of the plant was taken from, which bud, how much it was touched, tons of variables for potency. So there's that.
Potency.
I tried to get some growers on, but they weren't available. But there's a lot of different variables when it comes to this stuff because it's natural medicine. It's nothing. It's variable. A lot of variables.
What I want to know is, when this guy comes on, is if any of these numbers, and I don't believe that all of these numbers could attribute to this, but could any of these numbers lowering attribute to the amount of time they've sat in a package or, just sat like that?
Well, a pre-roll will breathe, right? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I said at the end of the day, you have a living plant organism in a package. So if it wasn't properly cured and dried and then stuffed in a bag, yes, you have the potential of growing mold and or spores of that on the plant. It's a possibility if there was just enough of a mold spore on that plant before it was thrown out and it was negatively tested in a bag, those mold spores will continue to grow.
Right, leave the mold alone. Like, that's obviously that's just unacceptable. What I'm saying is the numbers that they're referring to about being lower than they're claiming to be, could those numbers be a claim to lowering because they sat in a package for a certain amount of time? Like, just in the sense of like when you tackle these issues, trying to play devil's advocate to some degree.
It's breathing.
You'd have to ask a laboratory realistically because they're the scientists and they know about that stuff. I personally don't.
I want to ask them.
Yeah. So realistically speaking, like,
it would degrade more in a pre-roll.
It would degrade the cannabinoids more than anything else. But like I said, unless you're stuffing a package with already moldy weed, it's susceptible for a mold to continue. Yeah. With wet weed that isn't completely dried or cured correctly and then processed, yeah, that's a possibility. I'm not ruling it out, but yes, it's a possibility. Because again, we are dealing with organic.
It is interesting to see that this is an issue that's popping up again, because
this has been an issue all over the country. I've worked on the West Coast and seen this issue.
What I mean is that it seems to be that there's episodes of this from time to time. Not that it makes it any more acceptable. I just like comparing it to like my friend Amanda, who has her medical card in Florida, and she'll have this happen quite often, where she'll have either mold or some dry weed or something like that, and it leads me to the point that if it's continuing to the point right now where we are starting, I won't say we're there yet, but we're starting to get to the point where we're looking oversaturated with dispensaries in New Jersey, and that becomes more and more of an issue, then that speaks to at least the issue I've been talking about, that there's less and less care being put into this as a product of flower and, for the people, and more about money, which I've said over and over again that if we prioritize money to an unhealthy regard with cannabis, I don't care if it's a business or not, we are no better than the people who got this shit legalized in the first place. So I would hope that other groweries and manufacturers are taking notes here, and taking a note from this and saying that there needs to be a lot more care and transparency put into packaging and producing these products. I should have said that in the reverse order, but I didn't.
Well, more comes down to is quality control at the end of the day.
Well, yeah.
If you don't have
You're
proper
not going to have
control,
quality if you don't care.
not to mention if you overlook it and just put it out on the market just to sell it anyway.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. If your point is to just shove it out and get money, then yeah, you're throwing care out the window in a large regard.
Mm-hmm.
We need more weed
for
connoisseurs.
you.
We need connoisseurs and mongers. We need a weed monger.
A weed monger. Oh, he's a weed monger. I'm sorry. It said, how long has he been like that? Can he still speak or talk? Can he dress himself?
Celebrity weed mongers. We need more celebrity weed mongers.
The word monger has always been weird with me. Like what was it? That bit I did is from It's Always Sunny. It just sounds like a word you use for someone who's like mentally troubled.
Are you thinking of Mongoloid?
Mongoloid, yeah. Like what was it? There's this bit. Yeah, that you know what I'm talking about. Where he goes to Ireland and he's like, "Oh, he's a cheesemonger." He's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know he's a monger. Can you still read or write?" So he's just some guy stoned out of his mind. Just he's a
weed monger. Yeah. Fishmonger. There's fishmongers. There's weed mongers where they throw the weed at.
Which fishmonger just sounds dirty to me.
Just be a weed sommelier. It sounds better.
A weed sommelier.
Cicerone.
I love
that's
that.
Why I call myself. That's why I call myself a connoisseur. That's why I call myself a connoisseur.
There we go. And you know what? Honestly, I think there should be like, you know how they do wine tasting events. I think there would be a lot of good attention and energy to, like, you know, a live, like, people take nugs and go, yes, like, you have to blind identify nugs in a way, and you're like live commentary on like the crystals and the color and everything.
Now that we have lounges available, now we might be able to start doing that. Once we finish the licensing laws for that bullshit.
Lefty, we should dress up. What?
Cannabis pairing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I already have that in the bag.
Pair this cannabis with your bed.
Yeah, I got a food pairing with hash rosin.
It says right at the end.
I can definitely see that because it's a lot more concentrated flavor.
Oh. So we're at the end, bro. You're good. Toss that.
I think that's another series I can do. Activity pairing with cannabis.
Activity pairing. I want to do RC cars. RC cars here and trains.
I'm trying to get him to start doing card game events there, since he likes Magic so much. I think that would be you guys attract. You guys have no idea how many people who play Magic are both stoners and are uneducated stoners.
That's because that was just propaganda used to try to get people not to smoke it.
Well, it's more, as someone who used to play cards, it's more that they focus more on the card game, and the weed was just like something that they'd hide and go and do to calm down the round jitters, and they wouldn't get involved in the politics of it. It was just an activity for them.
Mm-hmm.
The amount of what?
I was going to say, these homegrown meetings are really good every week. They seem to really be productive. And
in what
shit's
sense?
Really starting. It's moving. Things are really moving now. I like it. I like what I'm seeing.
I'm glad to see some momentum with that.
Don't forget about tomorrow's meeting.
Yeah, tomorrow's meeting every Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny. I spoke to Steve Sweeney about a month and a half ago on the phone. And I talked to him about home grow, and he was like, yeah, I'm for it. But he didn't come out for it. Like, he just agreed, but he wasn't like, yeah, I'm going to champion it. The UFCW got him to champion it for us because, UFCW is a union, and they're going to support another union member because Sweeney's a union guy himself. So it's a union thing. And I tell you what, we need more people to support home grow. More the merrier.
Without a doubt.
Pressure. Put pressure on these guys.
We were talking, I think, last week about this too, and whoever was on was saying that you're going to have people inspecting and you're going to have to let them come and look at your weed and whatnot. And I definitely think that for the sake of responsibility purposes, there does need to be some sort of, I'll say, monitoring with home grow to a degree. I don't think we need to go as far as people coming into your home or your garden or your grow house every time to carefully inspect everything. But I think that is a necessary thing that we're going to have to deal with as far as integrating home grow, at least in the beginning. Because leave alone the fact that, people could abuse how much they grow or whatnot. There is like we discussed, a real health impact that could come if you do decide to give it to other people and you grow it improperly or whatnot.
Yeah, but there's no screwing like that for beer. People brew beer and moonshine every day here in the state of New Jersey, and they don't get inspected for it brewing in their bathtub.
It's interesting you bring that point up because I do agree with you on that front.
They get
That's
inspected a lot, not every day, but they get inspected a lot.
Well, but at the end of the day, the reason I like that you touched on that point was that I said this before. I filed a complaint with the New Jersey Attorney General under the Consumer Fairness Act, basically stating that. I'm going to cut that off and go to Chris Weedstein. How are we doing, my friend?
How are you guys today?
What's up? Hey, Chris.
Been very excited to hear from you. I've been hearing a lot of about what you're doing so far, and want to learn more.
Yeah. Well, the laboratory testing results came back this week from Safe Leaf, so that was a big story that was out. Testing the pre-rolls, which are definitely the processed meat of cannabis products. I mean, it's basically like a hot dog. You ever see an electron microscope, like look at a hot dog and all the stuff that's in a hot dog? Yeah. That's basically pre-roll joints, folks. On one hand, 30% of them failed for molds and pathogens. Now, that's really messed up because they were labeled as safe as having 0 levels of pathogens. And after a couple of months on the shelf, when they were retested at a Czech laboratory, they had levels over 100,000. Not cool. Now, I will have to be fair, 70% of the samples tested clean. So there was that. The other major issue was the cannabinoid levels. Now, every cannabis consumers and medical patients shop by the label. They look very carefully at the terpene levels and the cannabinoid levels. And if you see a level on there that's like 30%, and I just want to be clear with you folks that if you're seeing flower labeled at 30% THC, it's probably a fiction. And when we find that the labels have very high THC labeled, when we retest them, they're very low. So like the ones that were labeled 34% were 17. And the ones that were labeled 22% were like 16%. That's basically like switching everybody out for decaf on their first cup of coffee of the day. And that is just not cool. I mean, so that's like on the cool factor, right? But on the medical factor, that is basically like delivering half of the dose on the label, which in any other medical product, everybody would be pretty up in arms about. Now, the problem was that like I said, so I guess there were 25 or 28 pre-rolls there. 7 of them had mold and other issues. And out of the ones that she could test the cannabinoid levels on, she found that the THC levels were widely inflated. Okay, so lots of all over the country here. Right. Okay. Good point. Now, it is endemic.
West Coast, California, Oregon, Washington. Like I literally worked at commercial facilities where they're like, all right, testers are coming, laboratories on their way to test our batch. Time to dust the batches. Like, okay, here comes the Keef dusting, like just to make the numbers test even higher.
And the one thing I want to ask,
my own eyes.
The one thing I'd want to ask you before you go back to it is you touched on the cannabinoid numbers and other levels within these pre-rolls. Now, the one thing I like to do with these issues is to play devil's advocate. That's what you do in a healthy argument. And what I'd like to ask is, can any of these numbers be known to fall for elongated time spent packaged?
Sure. Great question. And there's two sides to that. And what we look for in the laboratory testing to determine what was really going on. Okay. Now, I want to sort of address your point first. There is the CRC, the Cannabis Regulatory Commission, allows a variance level in the cannabinoid levels between testing and when they're packaged. Because you're right, there's some natural degradation of the cannabinoids and those levels over time in a packaged product. For sure. Okay. If you leave an ounce of weed in your sock drawer for 2 years, and then you go back and you're like, man, I'm going to smoke that dry sock drawer weed today. And you roll yourself up a fatty of sock drawer weed that's been sitting for 2 years. Most of the THC will have turned into CBG and CVG. And it will really put you to sleep because most of the Delta-9 THC has metabolized out over time. But what we're talking about is stuff that sat on the shelf for a couple of months here, okay? First of all. And the CRC absolutely allows a variance of cannabinoid levels, and we can accept a little bit of degradation over time. But it does not drop by 50% on the shelf when it's packaged and put up there in 3 months, okay? That is total BS, okay?
Couple percent maybe.
I will also say that you can tell. So, like, you know, when the laboratory looks at the cannabinoid profile, they're not just looking at the THC. So they could see if something degraded. They could look at the label of when it was packaged. And on the other hand, they can look and see what the cannabinoids are later. So they could see if it degraded in other cannabinoids over time. And we're not seeing that. Okay. So you were talking about what the national problem with this is. Okay, we call it laboratory shopping, and politicians have heard about this. They write bills about it. But laboratory shopping is endemic in the industry, and it's like, you know, that Spider-Man meme where there's 3 Spider-Mans and they're all pointing at each other, and you just don't know which is the real Spider-Man, right? So the problem with laboratory, endemic problem with laboratory shopping is essentially a labeling fraud issue, where all 3 Spider-Mans are pointing at each other. You've got the cultivator, the manufacturer, and the laboratory all pointing at each other saying they're the ones who are messing up, right? But ultimately, what we found in many states after some investigative reporting and some whistleblowers come out is that everybody's in it together, is that manufacturers and cultivators go to the laboratories and they pay for testing. And if they don't like the numbers, they go to another laboratory. And maybe that other laboratory will give them numbers that they like. And we don't know if that's accurate, but that's what they go and put on the label. So here's what's interesting. For the last decade, states have regulated these cannabinoid levels and these testing programs. And the labs there's been a lot of laboratory shopping going on. But all of the sudden, states like New Jersey have licensed independent laboratories. This is kind of like a brand new universe where laboratories are accredited. The laboratory that was used for the Safe Leaf test is accredited by the New Jersey Cannabis Regulatory Commission and the DEA. So they're like a super accredited official laboratory, but they do walk-up testing. In Pennsylvania, there are 192 dispensaries, and they have 4 testing laboratories, and they can only work for the marijuana industry. So you and I can't walk up to those labs and ask them to test anything. But the New Jersey laboratories, by statute, are allowed to do walk-up testing. That means that you and I can go buy some cannabis from a dispensary, walk it into the laboratory, pay for testing, and announce the results. And that's exactly what Safe Leaf did. So, and the reason that you're seeing there's stories in California and Michigan is because there's independent laboratories that are accredited now that journalists and academics and activists can now go to for reference and what we call reference and check testing. That's when you're testing products that have already been tested and labeled and put on the shelf for sale. So that's what reference testing means. And that's important because the industry has never had this level of scrutiny. So back to all this, the New Jersey CRC announced how did NJ try to stop that? That's what. Yes. So okay. The NJCRC recently passed a sort of like internal resolution to create a reference laboratory at the NJCRC. That was to stop laboratory shopping, and that's a great question. So, but that reference laboratory isn't online yet, and all those details aren't completely fleshed out. The other thing that CRC did, to their credit, was that they strengthened the laboratory testing guidelines. So they actually made the the safety guidelines stricter, which is a good thing. But again, the guidelines don't mean much and the labels don't mean much unless we know that they're completely accurate. And what we found is that the industry tends to, again, all of the pre-rolls sampled had wildly inflated levels of THC. That is not cool because that is an industry marketing to consumers and not even delivering what's on the label. And in the meantime, we got people like Senator Scutari, who's threatening to send the police after us again, saying that if we don't buy the safe and legal product, that we will get arrested. Well, Senator Scutari, I will point out, he could pay for reference testing. He could go and take some products to prove that it's safe too. He could do that. In fact, Senator Scutari, I guess, could open his own laboratory, and you could have Senator Scutari's cannabis testing laboratory. And I'm sure that everything will be mold-free and 35% THC out of that lab. Just saying. So, but
Chris, I have a question for you real quick. So when my follow-up observation in New Jersey recreational cannabis was my best friend in Florida. They have, as you know, only medical down there. However, as the time I saw her get her first medical card and combined with the amount of time that dispensaries started to fluctuate down in Florida, I noticed that become more of a problem. That once more product, once more stuff became more fluctuated throughout the state, that care wasn't put into the product like it should be. I want to know how much truth you think there is to that. I'm feeling like this is definitely a something that wasn't as much of an issue when the cannabis industry was much smaller, if you know what I mean.
Like, look, quality control has always been an issue, and really consumers and let's be totally fair. The real issue is that so much of the cannabis industry borrows some bad practices from the underground market sometimes too. Let's be honest about that. And that we normalize and formalize a lot of things that happened in the old school market that wasn't cool. We somehow made it regulated and cool now. So we can't get away from that either. But that's what laboratory testing is supposed to do. I have to say, like, laboratory testing has come a long way. When you look at it 25 years ago, Steve D'Angelo out at Harborside Health Services in California, I remember back in the day when Harborside was out, and what they did, their model was they didn't grow weed at Harborside, they bought weed. He had a buyer's counter. And it opened every morning. And dude, it was like 10 people deep, 5 stalls long, people selling weed to Harborside. And they would intake all this weed like a consignment shop, like it was antiques or like trading cards or something. And they'd intake all the weed at the counter. And he came up, there was so much competition in San Francisco and Oakland that Stevie was like, you know what? We can prove to consumers that our product is better by getting the cannabinoid levels and putting the THC levels on there. And then once they started doing that, they were like, hey, we could test for basic molds and pathogens. And then there came out this concept of clean cannabis. And then independent laboratories started opening in California without any regulations whatsoever. And the industry started competing about labeling stuff and having these levels. And that's when the concept of lab shopping started, because there was no check lab in that sort of opening era of testing. So over time, states have regulated cannabis. We consumers have asked for greater safety, and it should be treated like a food product. Like humans are going to consume this stuff, right? Yeah. So the idea that they're going to sweep off the trimmings off the floor that they walk in off the parking lot and stuff it in pre-rolls and handle it with their hands and talk over it and then throw it in a bin for sale at $20 each later and then it's got mold and pathogens on it.
Why don't
that
they just
is
spit in
not
our
cool.
face and just talk right in our face then, you know?
Well,
That-
look, the industry has had this long not to have reference testing. But now that this reference testing is happening, I am sure that there are butts puckering across the industry right now going, holy crap, okay? Like, everybody is going to be able to analyze our product and see through the safety problem.
And see, I've been saying that. I've brought up this point and articulated this as of the past couple of months, and I want to share it with you that, you know, I've had a lot of people tell me that, you know, with my beliefs of cannabis about how we cannot be in this industry like any other industry, like the alcohol industry or anywhere else, because that will lead us back to the very same mentality that got this shit legalized in the first place. I've said this over and over again, and people have told me, well, you know, it's a business at the end of the day. You gotta understand it. You know what? I think there's a fine line we can walk between being a business and having that literal reality we have to work with as a transactional process and not following dirty corporate practices. I think
businesses have to be competitive, you know, and you know, it's not, again, like, I think that corporations are going to cut costs at any turn. And the other reason that lab shopping has become endemic is because when they've done big product safety recalls, like they did one in Pennsylvania, they did one in Michigan, the empire struck back. You know, the industry was not happy. When they recalled all the vapes in Pennsylvania, the industry didn't say, oh my gosh, we're so sorry, we're going to fix these problems. Oh, geez. No, they didn't do that. They said, oh my gosh, you guys are all wrong. We're taking you to court. And they got an injunction and they got the vapes released and sold them back to patients and consumers. And that's what happened. Look, I think that the industry is not safety conscious. On the other hand, again, to their credit, 70% of the pre-rolls in this test were clean of mold and pathogens. I think that actually says a lot. I mean, really,
to be fair, yes.
Maybe it's better than I thought. However, inflating the THC levels as a consistent matter of practice is basically a fraud on consumers, and it is actually labeling fraud. So I don't think that it's very cool at all. And moreover than anything, I think that, you know, more safety, once more reference testing is done by the CRC, by activists, by academics, I do think that it will put pressure on the industry to have a safer product. They do not want to get caught with this stuff. I think that's the other reason that that Safe Leaf didn't mention names in this report. So
yes,
you know, there's that.
And you were saying before that we've had long enough to not have this testing. I've said this in multiple regards too, that, you know, I play devil's advocate to a lot of these issues because at the end of the day, we're an industry that's coming out of a prohibition in a sense of the last couple of decades and whatnot. We have a lot of things that we're still trying to figure out between clearing up fear mongering and nonsense out there that's about cannabis and actually figuring out what we haven't been able to figure out for the past couple of years. So I definitely vibe with that statement that, you know, we've had long enough to not have it and not be able to, you know, have that within our access. That's not where we are now. We need to be also more conscious of the fact that, hey, this was something that, you know, while we know there's no harm to this plant, while we know this is a natural thing that shouldn't be illegalized, the game is that, in a sense, that they legalized it. We should be a little more light-footed instead of being reckless and allowing 30% levels like that. So I think there should be a lot more conscientiousness in that regard.
What would the baseline be? I only got one question, and it fits in right here. It's interesting that 70% may well be good. What's it compared to? There's no real baseline for pathogens. How many parts per whatever in water is arsenic? Okay, it's naturally occurring in the, you know. So, but there's baselines for everything. Is there even a vague one?
Yes.
For this?
Yeah. So the CRC, basically, what we're calling out in any kind of safety testing is stuff that exceeds the cannabis regulations of the state. So Safe Leaf went out and did this testing, and they're saying that they violated the guidelines set by CRC. So not only are the molds and pathogens like way higher than what is allowed by CRC for sale, but they were labeled as being safe originally. So that's the real problem here, Jim, is that these are products that are on the shelf. They have already been tested, okay? And
was the testing coming back differently than products that were tested already that got retested with what you're talking about? Was there major discrepancy?
Yes. I mean, what I'm saying is that 28 products were purchased off the shelves of dispensaries. They were all labeled as being safe for sale. And if you really look at those tiny little labels and the COAs that go with them, they said that they were 0% parts per million with these pathogens. What they actually tested for was over 100,000. So they were outside of the CRC guidelines or outside of basic safety guidelines.
Okay.
Dispensary guy, real quick, Jim, saying about the names, do you agree with holding back the names? Since this was, I just helped with the press release. Safe Leaf is Michael Boone and Andrea Rabel. They're the ones who went out and did the testing. And it's the first round of testing they did. And for these companies, they don't just make pre-rolls. They make a variety of products. And as we all talked about, pre-rolls kind of being the hot dog of the cannabis product. So it is kind of like the Vienna sausage in the dispensary there. Maybe, maybe it's not the best representation of each company. It's their first round of stuff. So to your question, do I agree? What about holding names back? I said that in the future, as they do more testing, they should fully disclose the name on every test. And I think that that's probably the plan. I think that this first release and this first round of testing on the pre-rolls, you're not like testing every cultivator or the whole industry. It's just a very small sample. So I think in this round, it's important to keep focused on the message and focus on consumer safety.
I'm focused on things that it wouldn't matter because nobody would know what I'm focused on. Because, you know what I mean? I'm not actually taking part in here's what I think area, because I really liked doing it slowly and I don't have enough information. But one thing Paco, how the hell are you, man? I'm like, I want to wave at you. See, this is me looking at, but how would you know, man? It's been a long time, bro. What's up?
Yeah, been good, man. How you been?
Up and down, but I start setting the bar lower and I have better days. So I'm trying to find that happy medium. Maybe my expectations are too high sometimes, but overall, it doesn't suck. I used to say, my older brother, Rick, it doesn't suck is not good enough for me. And life taught me that's way fucking good for me. It doesn't suck. The day is mine to screw up. That's it. And if my day goes south, 9 times out of 10, I was the one that could have prevented it. I can live with that. You know what I'm saying? I can only be so angry at myself.
Fair enough. Yeah. Chris, I want to ask you real quick, because the only other time I use that hot dog metaphor, funny enough, is when I'm talking to people about the classic understanding of people's smoke's effect on them is how a cigarette is made. Talk about the construct when you say built like a hot dog. Like, what is that in the weed mentality?
Well, it's sort of the fast food. Like, I've been a cannabis consumer my entire adult life. I can count on one hand how many times I bought a pre-roll in a dispensary. It's just not something that regular cannabis consumers buy. It's like a tourist item. It's the fast food in the dispensary. And honestly, like a hot dog, it's like the lips and whatever's left over on the pig is thrown into that pre-roll, right? So this is literally, if you talk to dispensary employees, I have talked to them. They're like, dude, do not buy the pre-rolls, man. That is the stuff we sweep off the floor after we walk in from the parking lot, after we're walking our dog. And I'm like, whoa. Wow, not for me, right? Again, I'm telling you like the horror story. This is not, I don't want to make this sound like it's the entire industry. I've met dispensary employees who talk about how hard they work to keep the pre-rolls clean as well. Seriously, they're wearing masks. Today, in 2025, they're still wearing masks to make sure that no COVID or anything gets in the pre-rolls. There are some employees in some companies that take this very seriously and some that don't. So what we found is that 30% of them seriously don't take it. Like, seriously don't get safety, okay? And if 30% of them don't get safety, that means, 30% of cannabis consumers could be at risk of utilizing that cannabis and getting sick. And the real insidious thing for us is that we treat cannabis as a medicine. We treat it as a healthy and beneficial part of our lives. Oftentimes, consumers wouldn't even think that their cannabis would be having any mold or pathogens in it. It's not even something that would occur to people. And also, I will say this, that is the insidious thing about the label. We do trust the labels. And we are told by politicians to trust the labels or they're going to send police after us and arrest us for buying stuff without a label. So the idea that this stuff is mislabeled, that it is said to be safe and is not, that it is said to have a certain THC level and does not, that is a fraud, okay, period. So they can either deal with the fraud and seriously address the concerns with these, with these issues and seriously address safety issues, or they can accept that they have a fraudulent program. And I know that they don't want to do that.
Now that leads me to my next question, I guess, and I think I know the answer with this, but I want to ask anyway. Do you think this error requires more oversight or better training?
It requires better oversight. I don't think it requires more training. I think that the basic safety aspects and the basic best practices are out there in the industry. Again, the good part of these tests are that 70% of them didn't have molds and pathogens. I mean, if I rolled you 100 joints here at my house on my desk, a few of them might have molds and pathogens, right?
I challenge you.
So
I'll find out.
Right.
You're down the road.
100 joints, clean
I'm coming
joints
down for my 100 joints.
So yeah,
I'll be out and ready after the podcast, man.
Test
them
all.
Roll them.
Test them all. But that's the thing.
Whole
like I am able to accept, just like in the food industry, nobody's perfect, and we don't want perfection out of the cannabis industry. And we can accept some variance in the levels, and we can accept all these things. What we cannot accept, and let me make this clear, it's non-negotiable. Fraud is not negotiable. If they know that the numbers are wrong and they fudge them anyway, if that can be proven, if it can be proven that laboratory shopping is simply people making up numbers, fraud is not acceptable. We can accept mistakes, okay? Nobody's perfect, but fraud is never acceptable. And that is the problem here. We can accept mistakes, but what this points to is endemic fraud. So 70% of the industry seems to be trying really hard. 30% of the industry seems to be running a fraud.
Well, I've been here. This is all familiar to me right up until the point. What do you mean? Somebody did major testing. It's like that. Was it that easy to get the ball rolling in a certain direction just to do it and say here? It reminds me of a parallel course that took quite a bit to talk to DPA into spending the money on getting a survey done in New Jersey. And when they did, it was 86% approved of having a medical cannabis program. And like only, I forget how many didn't know, but it was like that was the game changer, because until then it was a matter of opinion. But I don't want to say numbers don't lie. Actually, numbers don't lie. It's the way they're represented can be very misleading.
Numbers don't lie, Jim. People
lie.
And they change the numbers. That's the problem.
Exactly. And when it's just like you're saying, when they can do that, that is fraud, And
Numbers
the concept of that now is they're not just going to go on, well, let's not change anything we're fine. They're taking all that into consideration, I would assume, with whatever they think their next step isn't, or how serious to take it, or what the ramification. But they've been called to the table now. They got to be thinking about moves, whereas before it was like maybe they were waiting for something like that.
I think that, look, I also would say that the labeling fraud issue doesn't really hang it on cultivators or manufacturers necessarily. You can point, it's like that Spider-Man meme.
Yeah.
You can point the finger at any Spider-Man here. Mm-hmm. But the problem is we're not sure which one is really pulling the fraud. And that really needs to be exposed in some of the stuff. The other issue, again, that's the safety issue is one side. The cannabinoid levels are the real fraud here, though. So if that was the real reveal, it was like all of them had inflated THC levels. So
now
even if it's safe, if it's giving you not what's on the label as far as the THC goes, like I said, if they're switching you out for decaf without telling you on the label, that's fraud too.
Well, THC levels are like weather reports. Here's the temperature and here's what it feels like. So basically, I'm the guy that goes outside. It's first of all, don't tell me what it feels like. I'll go outside and tell you what it feels like. But I appreciate them giving me a start on how much I want to put on to even see what it is on a really cold day. But when it comes to THC levels and are they manipulating them, it's sort of like, okay, I know what I feel when I have some, and I have my various baselines for what I think about it. So I used to say this is not what it's cracked up to be. And then at times it's like had something that matched it where it's like, maybe they just didn't lie, or maybe
moving forward, you said earlier that you are the fraud is looking to be exposed and it's unsure of what direction it's coming from. Moving forward, is there something to be implemented or something to be said about implementing more record keeping, more documentation moving forward with these people?
I think the CRC took the best course possible. Massachusetts announced this as well. Once they exposed widespread laboratory fraud and laboratory shopping, they just started a reference laboratory for the Cannabis Commission up there. I think that's the only way the Cannabis Commission is going to be able to know if the labels are accurate is if they get independent testing done that is industry independent. So they're going to have their own reference laboratory. It's the only way to do it.
Now, you said there's the only way to do that. That brings up another interesting point for me. You said earlier that there's a lot of things that we're still repeating within the cannabis industry from street practices. What have you seen so far of those street practices that you think could be improved to a more acceptable standard?
Okay, I want to say that there's things on the other side too. There are things that the industry does that could learn from the street, like today, to have better sales. Me and Josh at Cannademics were talking about this. Like, let's really think about where, let's talk about where consumers really need to encounter regulated cannabis products. They need to access them at concerts, at baseball games, at sports venues, at the park. Okay. They need to encounter cannabis products everywhere where they see beer right now. Okay. You could put a beer garden in a playground tomorrow. Okay. But can you have a cannabis garden? No. So this is the issue for cannabis consumers today. We need what I have, come to term in what other states look at as kiosk sales. So a small business dispensary should be able to set up essentially a vending booth somewhere or be able to take on a contract for concessions at a major venue like a concert venue or something like that. We should have cannabis at the venue next to, in fact, more prominent than alcohol, because more young Americans are choosing cannabis over alcohol every single day. They just can't get any when they go into where they have fun, and it sucks.
There's one state on the West Coast, and they have THC seltzers at some venues like that, concerts and or sports stadiums. They now have THC seltzers. I just forgot which state it was.
I wish I could, I hear you guys on, I know that this is like an emergent thing. As a non-drinker, I don't drink alcohol. I was just never into alcohol. I was always just like a weed guy.
Not much either.
I'm not really interested. I'm like pushing 50. You're not going to train me to drink my weed. Maybe the younger generation will figure out that. I mean, they're into boofing all kinds of stuff.
Stop.
Really have some fun.
Now live on the edge, man. Try it out.
No,
you try out, Jim.
You're really aging yourself here. You're really aging yourself
THC seltzer. I want you to be the guy to go. It's not really working. I know it's not working. It isn't. It's not working. It's like
it's.
Oh,
this is
yeah.
I would
no.
Now,
here's my problem. Is
that
fake
news?
Look, the other issue, since we're talking about laboratory testing, the other emerging issue is that states and academics are using these same reference laboratories to test all there was a Saturday Night Live skit years ago with Drew Barrymore called the Delta 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 sorority. And they would answer the phone. They would say, Delta Delta Delta, can I help you?
I remember that,
right?
Yeah.
So basically, right now, we are in the Delta 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 stage of hemp weirdness, right? And before the Delta 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 stage, there was the CBD toilet paper stage. I think that you all remember this, where everything had CBD in it, right? And I came to calling CBD products Caucasian bullshit drops because there wasn't any more cannabidiol left, right? It was just Caucasian.
You have no idea how many times I've quoted you since you last were on and said that. I have been saying that nonstop when I talk about this.
Let's be clear. Cannabidiol is a ubiquitous and very beneficial cannabinoid, and it is really across the spectrum. It's really wonderful stuff. But stuff that has the CBD little thing on it, again, They're not talking about cannabidiol. They're talking about a magic thing that they
I've
squeeze
always
out of a
poised
fat
it
white
as
guy somewhere.
I've always been sure to
Caucasian bullshit
poise it
drug.
as the two douchey white boys in the suits who are coming up and be like, "Hey, we got the CBD," and then like that kind of that's
Okay,
what it
so
is.
here's
That's what
my
it is.
problem. We're talking about the weed drinks, right? So my problem is that I see the same people who were in the CBD toilet paper and doing Delta selling me THC seltzer down the road. So like now, I've got a problem with that. And here's the other thing. Let's get back to the Delta products. So if you walk a Delta hemp product out of a smoke shop with a skill game in Pennsylvania into a laboratory that is accredited to test for anything, it's going to find that it might not have any natural cannabinoids, but it does have, guess what, synthetic cannabinoids. We are finding that our check labs should be testing, guys, for synthetic cannabinoids in the vape pens, especially. So it looks like the Delta hemp products have K2 Spice synthetic cannabinoids. If you remember K2 Spice?
Yeah.
Those are the synthetic cannabinoids that are on the Delta products that they're finding out there. Okay.
Oh no.
So the reason that people feel like they're getting high on something labeled Delta hempa is because it's got
stuff that everyone was
K2
smoking in the
spice
early
on it.
2010s.
Correct. So a lot of us, there was a scientist who lived here, who's still here in New Jersey, named Jehan Marcoux, and he and I used to work together a lot. And back in the K2 Spice days, we were talking about this and exposing K2 Spice, talk about synthetic cannabinoids. And we found that during the Caucasian bullshit drop stage that there were synthetic cannabinoids on stuff labeled CBD. And guess what? The Delta hemp stuff has synthetic cannabinoids too. So I have a real problem right now because the check labs can tell us what the potency of the THC is. It can tell us if there's molds and pathogens. But now those check and reference laboratories also have to be testing for the synthetic cannabinoid profiles as well to make sure that these aren't adulterated products.
You were presented a metaphor earlier, and it made me think of one that I usually think of just to lighten the mood a little bit. Do you ever watch the movie The Founder?
Oh yeah, great.
Okay.
Actually, good book too.
My attitude always for people adapting to normalizing weed has always been that scene where he first discovers the McDonald's concept, and he walks in and he's like, he orders his food, and they bring it right to him, and he's like, "What's this?" And they're like, "It's your food. What do I do with it?" Well, you eat it. Where do I eat it? In your car, in the park, wherever you want. Very similar attitude as a bud tender in the early stage of this. I saw to people with cannabis. You bring it to them especially a first-time user who was just told to go to the dispensary. You're like, so that's it? Yeah, that's it. Well, what do I do with it? Do you got a pipe? You got a one-hitter? Where do you smoke it? In your car, in your park. Make sure you're not driving, though. You get in trouble. That metaphor always made me laugh because it's just that's the reality of something that's been, like you said, a lot of old world practices from when it was prohibitionized. We're still normalizing a lot of this stuff. We're still.
Oh, dude, I'm so glad that you brought up that movie. Listen, so everybody knows The Founder is about Ray Kroc, the guy that founded the McDonald's franchise. He did not found the McDonald's restaurant. There were two guys who founded the McDonald's restaurant that came up with all the practices. Ray Kroc was a traveling salesman who happened upon McDonald's one day, and it dawned on him that he could make a franchise out of it, right? And he worked his fucking ass off to make a franchise out of it. And they were great restaurants, but he was making no money. And then he went to a lawyer and an accountant who was a friend of his. Now, this is the part of the movie that's really important. It's when Ray Kroc realizes that the money in McDonald's isn't in selling the food. It's the real estate underneath the restaurant. That's the money. If you could create a franchise where the franchisees don't own the building, they don't own the land, but they put all the money into construction and buy your food from a central warehouse, you're going to make money. And McDonald's is born. And a corporate attitude for how things are done was born, and Ray Kroc became a multi-billionaire. Now, I want to say that the greatest story about Ray Kroc is that he was a total jerk really in his later life, but he accumulated a mass wealth. And when he died, his wife was still alive, so she inherited it. And what she did with it was what he asked her never to do, was she gave it away to charity. In 2010, National Public Radio received the largest single charitable donation from Joan Croc's foundation. She gave $110 million of his money away to NPR. He was a right-winger who hated NPR. That was Joan Croc's legacy, and that's why I love that movie. But to the same extent, McDonald's unfortunately created a corporate practice that you see in the cannabis industry today. You want to talk about messed up corporate practice? The idea that you run McDonald's as a franchise and that the food is really something that you make for the cheapest because what's really worthwhile is the real estate is exactly how the corporate dispensary model is operating today. So let's keep that in mind. Everybody, if you have a chance, read the book, watch the movie. It's well worth it.
Well, I got to pick.
It works is I bring up something and I have no idea the actual merit of what I brought up, and it's incredible, and I love it.
I need some expertise outside our group here, Chris. What's up with Murphy wanting $15 an ounce or something like that? And and Scooter don't want to give it to him?
Okay, so let's talk about other developments in New Jersey. Phil Murphy, governor, on his way out. But we do have a whole cadre of candidates running for governor this year. We get to vote for a brand new governor. Come January next year, Phil Murphy will no longer be governor. And whatever he says he wants to do will no longer be active. So he could talk about raising the price and the taxes. He could talk about whatever he wants to do. But basically, it's in the legislative session for 2026. So I doubt that he's going to really be successful. And it's something that the next governor could retract. Well, so let's say, Jim, say you became governor in this next session. And instead of Phil Murphy, it was Governor Jim Miller. How much would you set the per ounce tax that would be, set in there? Because guess what? The governor gets to have a say.
Yeah, well, what I would do is I'd look to the original passing of it and find out what happened to the plan that there's not going to be hardly any tax or like a little bit so dispensaries can get off the ground and start making money. See, then the price comes down. And when the price comes down 30% and then we apply $15 or dollars, when it comes down 30, we apply 15. See, and then again, so that was the model that was sold. And that's one thing I'm going to go back and kind of look it up because that's in the media from back, when I'll find it. This shit I can find out because it's just like fun. But that was the helping to sell it. And now it's almost like Murphy's like, hey, what did he just read about that and go, wait a second? Because 15% was exactly what was mentioned. Could have been 10, I thought, but starting to bring it. So I find that to be something. But on the other hand, is that Phil Murphy saying, well, I understand we wanted to wait till the program was up and running before we talked about homegrown. Well, wait, if you're asking for your share of that pie, you're saying you think the program's up and running like the plan to the point where this was in the plan too, so that he gets his stamp on some of the money getting in there before his term's over.
Okay, so
legacy there. I got started getting it in. Yeah,
I wouldn't overthink Phil Murphy, but to the same extent, I think that you're giving Phil Murphy too much credit for thinking about this too much.
Well, he could be a broken clock who happens to be on that time of day accidentally. I could blame him for being
again. He's a lame duck governor, Jim, and I'm paying less attention to him than I am to Steve Sweeney and Ross Baraka.
My point is, I guess I like that it's a little shadowy. It's like Scutari says, we got to get the program up and running. Murphy says, I think the program's up and running now. That's why I want my share. I would love, to have them together and have to hash that out and say, which is it? Is the program not up and running and you're going to take $15 more out and make it worse, Murph?
On your Christmas list.
Or is it up and running and it is, so
Jim, I absolutely guarantee that in a room with Phil Murphy and Nicholas Scutari, neither of them will know how to hash anything out. I would not bet that either of them know how to smoke hash. I'm sure that if I put a brick of hash on the table between them, they might question what it was.
Is there any way we can benefit and say, look, we got, of this information trying to connect. Oh, wait a second, Bear, hear me out, man. That to make that accusation that the governor agrees with us, the program's up and running. Otherwise, he wouldn't have asked for his slice. Just to try to throw it out there, just like pushing them towards each other a little bit. I know everything you said already is true. See, that's why I'm cutting you. I already know that I agree with you. I really do. I think you're missing a little bit of the nuance that we could at least egg him on a little bit. You know, there's some good memes out there. I don't know what, but any chance I
It kind of
have.
sounds to me like Murphy's backing Scutari's bill, and he's trying to literally pigeonhole people into going to a dispensary, pay more taxes, or be a criminal. And get
I
arrested.
like those ideas. I agree with Chris,
That's what it
though. I
sounds
think
like
you're
to me.
all overthinking Phil Murphy way too much. I don't think he's putting that much thought into it.
I thought about him like
he's
for
been
about, listen, I thought about that maybe 90 seconds in my whole life. You know, I'm thinking you're overthinking that I'm
You
overthinking.
thought about that more than 90 seconds of
Giving
your
me
life.
credit
No way.
for
It's
I'm
been
picking
90
stuff
seconds
off.
to talk about
I'm picking stuff off my carousel here. And if you think that I am doing that kind of thinking, I'll take the credit. But I
Jim,
don't want it
I
because
see
I'm
through
not.
your cover, man. You've been deep with the CIA and the DEA and the.
Oh man,
and
now
the
you're blowing my cover.
You got a
here.
whole
Don't do
agency,
that.
the NS. You
Don't
got a
do
whole
that.
combined agency. Your acronym is the NSCIDEA, and you are the deepest agent in New Jersey, dude. Man, this cover's been good. How you pull it off? I know that you got pictures with that, the beard too, like in a suit, G-man, badge, whole 9 yards.
Yeah, the thing is, I got my own Doge team, and they're called the Department of Good Excuses.
That's right.
Yeah.
You
Pull that
slipped.
beard.
You
Pull that
slipped a
beard.
few years ago. We were smoking a joint. You told me how you're related to Elon Musk. That basically you helped raise Elon here in New Jersey. Listen, like as far as Phil Murphy goes and the tax, to get serious about that for a minute. As far as Phil Murphy and the
I don't really
excise
care
tax
about that.
go, again,
I
Jim,
don't really
he
care about it.
is a completely lame duck governor, and the governor
He was a lame governor before a lame duck. He's a lame duck.
Unfortunately, I have to say he has been a bit of a disappointment. But to the same extent, the next governor could make a different choice. So basically, the next governor could say something different about the excise tax and could set the rate differently. So it doesn't really matter what he says now.
Yeah.
Back to gubernatorial candidates, if you don't mind me bringing up.
This is good. This is gonna be fun.
Yeah. So Roz Baraka and Steve Fulop were all on board with home grow for personal cultivation. So they support essentially recreational home cultivation for adults. What is interesting about this week is that Steve Sweeney came out yesterday supporting home cultivation for medical patients. Mm-hmm. So he is very specific that he supports medical home cultivation. But we have to keep in mind that Sweeney invented the position that Scutari has taken, which is that, he invented all the holdback positions. As Senate president, Sweeney opposed all home grow efforts. So
Scutari
this is a big turnaround. This is a major shift.
If you look at the blockade that's keeping us from here, and the nameplate it's the Sweeney blockade. But then he got voted out, and Scutari is maintaining the Sweeney blockade. Every time
big news. You got Jim nail on the head there. So with that, with the fact that basically Steve Sweeney has changed his position completely.
Yeah,
and
we can
dude,
use that.
He said everything, and I swear to God, he said everything that I wish Nick Scutari would say. He says, New Jersey residents, I hear you. I've been here the whole time. The industry is off the ground. It's okay. There's a place for home cultivation. Dude, how hard would that be for Nick Scutari to say? Obviously, it's there.
I got another question. Now that there's 12, I think, co-sponsors for 1393, the medical one. If there's it's 9. Yeah, 9, and it's 6. Okay, out of those 9 co-sponsors, 3 are all co-sponsors also of the adult corresponding version, meaning at the moment 3 times as many. There's 6 people that co-sponsored medical who did not co-sponsor adult home grow. What can we read into that? I mean, see, I'm not even trying to read into it. Again, if I was doing all that introspection, I wouldn't be picking on you to do my work for me right now. See, now you're here. I don't have to guess.
That's cool, man. I see through all your NSCI DEA tactics, man. This is like
okay, look, we're trying to get home grow, and unfortunately, it's in two different directions, which really aren't different. But apparently they are when one gets 9 co-sponsors and the other has 3.
Well,
because
Jim,
3 were and that seems to me to say we need to do a little triage more on saying we could certainly get the home grow bill for patients to a hearing before the other one. So maybe if it was all about getting it to a hearing, because I'm tired of people, not us, not knowing, what do you mean there's been a blockade? It's not a known thing, and people understand you mean blocking the information about the bill from being heard in the committee, blocking that for 4 years. You see, that people can understand whether or not they think it's a good idea or not. Everybody knows that ain't a good idea. So see, that's the lead, and then everything else, it does go together in lockstep, but if it's the way I'm assuming it's going to go, medical will have the head start. It ain't going to be the head start it had over, legality. But this totally gives the adult argument everything. Nothing's going to go wrong with patients. The thing, everything that's said in the committee, how much of that's going to apply directly to exactly the committee that'll happen for the adult home grow when it finally gets a hearing. It's information that help pull everything. It's what gets the traction, but to be blocked from having a hearing that we've kind of allowed that to happen. And when I say we, I'm pointing here right off first. We've allowed it to happen. We've allowed them to run out the clock. It's going to be for a 3rd time. So that's where it should be. That's where
I'm sitting here in the chambers of the Senate here at my house, Jim.
Well, I was going to say, I don't remember that,
man. I mean, no. Look, as far as this goes, Jim, I hear you on the difference between the co-sponsors between the 2 bills. Let's make things clear. S1393 is the bill that recently gained 2 more co-sponsors, 2 important co-sponsors. Joseph Vitale and Nilsa Cruz Perez, 2 Democratic senators. Now,
question B, I don't want to forget, because I don't want to forget it. Talk about why Joe Vitale finally now co-sponsored it as opposed to the last 4 years. Okay, go ahead, back to what you were saying. I won't forget that now. One of you guys remember, right? Okay.
So I'm not sure what you mean, but
Joe Vitale could have co-sponsored 1393 when it was 324 and when it was 3420 as well.
The rest of the Senate could have co-sponsored it too. Look,
no, but it's in his committee, and he didn't co-sponsor in his committee. He did ask for it. He was meeting with, say, yes, of course I'm doing what I can. But then now he finally co-sponsored it. That wasn't random. There's things going on. I'd like to understand why not last year.
Probably because there's a governor, because there's probably going to be,
lame duck governor, right?
No, there's going to be a vote for a new governor, and most of these people are probably going to try to shoe in and go for a governor seat. That's probably what they're doing.
Yeah.
Try to get people on their side. That's how politics works, man.
Well, yeah, to your point. Steve Sweeney announced that. So Raz Baraka, Steve Fulop, to their credit, support home grow already. We sent out a press release in February highlighting the gubernatorial candidate statements and that we had asked the other candidates and they hadn't said anything. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, a questionnaire came back last Friday to Andrea and the New Jersey Home Grow Coalition. They had sent a questionnaire to Steve Sweeney. The union UFCW said, we're going to try and get him to answer the question. It was sent weeks ago. It came out of the blue on Friday. And the questionnaire said all these great things about home grow. Then yesterday, Steve Sweeney on his own, on his Instagram account and his Twitter account and stuff, released this new position saying, New Jersey, I hear you. The industry's set up. We can have medical home grow. Now, what all this means, and back to the Vitale and the co-sponsors. Suddenly, Joe Vitale and Nilsa Cruz Perez, ranking Democrats, are joining on as co-sponsors. Mm-hmm. Suddenly, Steve Sweeney is taking a completely different position than his in the past and is supporting medical home cultivation. That's all good news. So not only is he supporting home cultivation as a gubernatorial candidate, he is one of many. It's not a standalone position. And now, in the midst of, I would argue, one of the most difficult times to get any political message out on anything, home cultivation is part of the New Jersey gubernatorial candidates race. We have many of the ranking candidates coming out with a position on it. Yep. And we have new co-sponsors to the bill that it's active on. So I will say this. Again, we are at a very good moment for this issue. Yeah. Jim, I would say that in the time I've been working on this, especially in the last couple of years, having Joe Vitale and Cruz Perez join the bill and within weeks of Sweeney taking a new position signals to me that we might be really at an inertia moment.
I agree.
So, yeah.
I'm like watching this train go by, but I want to add one thing. I want to add
not going
thing.
by. It hasn't,
okay, I think
it's still warming up at the station. So.
Okay, if there's 14 candidates all looking for nominations, Democrat, Republican, and then a Libertarian, Green Party, among them are
the ones who might win are the most important.
Bramnick, okay. Bramnick, is he? What is he now? Senator? I mean, he's a senator.
John Bramnick is not our friend.
In fact, I know, but come on, I didn't ask you that. Come on, help me out here. Bear with me because you won't forget. I will, and I'm trying to get down this path here to say that Bramnick, running for governor. We're talking about home cultivation. He didn't even want veterans and those with PTSD to be in the program. He voted no against that happening in 2016 as one of 13 people making a statement vote, all Republican assemblymen making a statement vote so this fucker didn't pass with nobody opposing it. You know, what was the damn statement he made? But him and Citrelli also voted no. Now, if somebody can't get that question before them, what was the statement you were trying to make with that vote? Explain that. Would you do the same thing now? How can that not come up between now and the election? I can't get the question asked. I'm just saying, if there was somebody doing an interview with them, like from the media, and they asked that question, what answer would they get? It's a question. It's not an accusation. Look, anybody can look it up. I can look it up on here and get there in like maybe 18 seconds. This is a little slow. I'm not.
So I encourage you to spend that 18 seconds and get back to us. But I will say that, again, in the couple of minutes that I have left here, because I got to leave at about 6 o'clock to make dinner for my aunt and me and everything like that. But here's the deal. I would say, again, in the time that we've been working on this, in the last year, we've gained more momentum. We are still shut down on the personal cultivation bill, but suddenly politicians
we have traction
warming up to the idea of passing the medical home cultivation bill.
We are getting traction. The reason I started my low interest petition to have to declare Senator Scutari should remove the roadblock, blah blah blah. Look, I believe you signed it. It's like. That was because I felt right back then, 6 weeks ago, it's time. You know what you're saying? It's time. Everything you said, I was feeling in spades then. And I'm like, I feel like Charlie Brown. I'm coming in for a kick. And this one, I'm going to go sailing if that ball's pulled away, because I don't think it will be fully. I agree. I'm glad that you feel the same way I do about this, you know? I mean, we are on a very, very good same page, and it's going to be real interesting to see how this slides. You know, we could be better off than we know, too. I've never said that before. Everything you said points to, this could we might know some things we'd like to know because we'd be smiling. That's never been possible in New Jersey. You know that. It's possible. You can't say it's not true. Therefore, it's possible. Therefore, it's never happened, and I'm good with that, And I gotta say, I really like you to be a go-to guy on information because you got something there. It doesn't matter if I agree with it or not. I understand what you're saying, and I do move with it. I mean, I do. Nobody gets moved all the way, but you move me. Like I moved Lefty a little over the last decade. I did. Look at him.
Yeah, look at him. He's sitting there in his own Mr. Rogers neighborhood at the Mad Hatter dispensary.
Anyway, baby.
Vibrators down a racetrack.
I'm glad you had time.
He's basically living the life of the podcast version of Daniel the Tiger right now. So
yeah, there you go. I had to get to Tulsa to do a siding repair, not emergency, but yeah, that's all I bring to the table. I can do it. So, it was more than I thought. So I got back late. It wasn't, not thought out, but I'm glad I saw everybody here all making some sense tonight. All about stuff having to do with medical cannabis. So, Chris, you've been able to do what few people have been able to do. Keep us centered right there for almost an entire podcast. And I'll give you. Seriously.
I don't think I was successful in that, Jim. Not even.
No, not before. Okay, put it on a chart. This is like the bell curve. You know what I mean? You're top of the bell curve, even if it's not 100% at the top. Everybody else is good. You're the one that adjusted the curve so other people get a worse grade. You're the one. You're the one that the medium smart kids don't like.
Thanks, Jim, for making me feel like I just made you all do extra push-ups during PT. So, but anyway, listen, I got to get rolling. I do have to make dinner for everybody.
Chris, thank you so much.
Yeah, no worries.
Keep doing what you're doing. We need more people like you calling shots and calling strikes and things like that.
So by the way, Andrea Rabel and Michael Boone deserve a lot of credit for the laboratory testing and the safety project.
Man,
I hope you'll have them on the show and talk to them about that. They really did a great job with that. And kudos to them, really, because I do think that this kind of independent testing is right now is what is important for industry transparency.
That's a little Wizard of Oz pulling the cover back is what they did. I mean, it might not know what we're looking at, but it isn't what was supposed to be there.
At the end, everyone's wishes are answered. And
decaf. At least it's decaf now. All right. All right. You guys have a great night.
You too, man. Thanks, brother.
All right. Catch you later.
Chris Goldstein, everybody. I always feel a lot smarter after he's on the show. And then I feel dumb because he's so much smarter than me. Then I feel really dumb. But I
like that he connected with that founder reference I made, which made me very happy.
Well, therein lies that I am so not at the top of, if we're talking about cannabis in so many ways right now. I'm like way in the lower half of the class, it seems. But I blame that on the caliber of people I hang out with, not on my lack of knowledge. It's the
people around me that suck.
No, yeah, well, really, if I want to look tall, I shouldn't stand next to people who are 6'6", right? I should stand next to people who are smaller. I don't know. And then when it comes to this, that's why I do a lot more listening than offering, But I do like that I can really talk to Chris in a fairly fun, frank way, in a whole different direction, and. It's never personal, and that's kind of rare sometimes. So I enjoy having a punching bag where I get punched back a little bit too. Whatever. See, Paco, you're good at that. You can have that conversation with somebody and hold your own. And I've seen you do it. And as a matter of fact, people start raising eyebrows because you come in under radar, and I love that shit, man. You just kind of come in under people's radar somehow. I don't know.
Paco knows what his moment is.
No, but I enjoy watching it happen, and then especially too, it's like when you start talking about your family and how they're connected, and doctors and medical smart people. I'm saying this as commoner as I can right now. It's like it also is like, okay, man, this guy's growing up around smart people. I'm pretty sure it's rubbed off on him, So it's I'm just saying. I like the company I'm in.
There's definitely some truth to that statement, Jim. But at the same time, like I could say, throughout my lifetime, I've hung out with and associated with some really stupid people and some people with really ignorant and dumb beliefs. But at the end of the day,
they make you look good. Right?
Not even that. It sculpts you in a large way, because if you disagree with what they're saying and you hang out with them constantly, it's going to reaffirm your own beliefs in your own mind. So,
but what I've also learned is if you, at that point, you can say the same thing two different ways. And if I say it like I'm trying not to laugh at somebody while I'm saying it, as opposed to being angry while I'm saying it, not only is it so much more fun, I think it becomes almost more insulting when I want it to be, you know? Like, you really believe that? Just nod your head once. Blink if you're being held captive. No, you know. But anyway, it's just sort of fun, you know. I don't get to sneak up on people.
There was this one thing I used to do when I used to drive where if I came across someone who pulled off some sort of like unsafe or crazy driving maneuver or something like that, if I could, I'd pull up next to them, I'd roll down my window, and if I could catch them, I'd say, "Yo, your driving puts my autism in perspective," and then I'd drive away.
Well, you know, not to, and I'll make it a real quick thing. But one time at somebody being like shitty driving and doing a quick pass on the right now where there's two lanes going to turn left at a light, but the light turned red, and I right next and windows open, and I was just being very berating, you know, and bullying.
Oh yeah,
yeah, it was actually to the right, you know, and I started saying, "Hey, look, man, you know, your woman looks disappointed in it, you know." Speak up. And then the thing is, he's in the right lane because there's a gas station, and he had to turn right, and I could have gone in. I could have, you know, I scared him. I could tell. I don't scare people usually. I don't know. Who the fuck knows why? You know, I rode that wave all the way though. You know, it's fun.
Wild to say. And Jim froze.
You know, I don't think people buy it. One time.
Thanks, guys. Paco, thank you for joining us today. We haven't seen you in a while. I hope you keep joining us. Come on back, bro.
Yeah, man.
Yes,
been too long. Been too long.
So let me know when you guys hop on. I'll hop on for a couple dabs. You know.
We're supposed to interview you. Apparently, we're supposed to like do a deep dive on Paco, so we have to do that soon.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
You look like you're actually looking at a list, are you? Because like that.
No, I'm cleaning my market.
No, I know. I'm talking about Lefty. He's looking like, okay, no, Paco's on the list.
We didn't tell you we're doing this now.
Yeah, we got to do a deep dive, and I'm smiling at that because that'd be like insane kind of fun, you know. Because you know we do learn during the podcast ourselves a lot. There's no joke about that.
Big time.
Yeah, a lot. And, you know, and I read between the lines on some stuff, but I like when I come away thinking, you know, I need to be a little more sure of some things, you know, like, because I'm trying to challenge myself to wonder, am I really this right about it, you know? And I almost like when I find out I was missing some information and I get to say, oh, hey, man, when you're right, you're right. I mean, I'm looking for those moments and really, you know, finding it to be fun because, you know, then I learn something. Problem is, I know too many people that know enough more than me. There's no reason in me becoming that kind of educated when I can just ask them, you know? I mean, when I can just ask them. And, you know, I mean.
Why do I need to know things? I can ask other people.
Yeah. But see, I don't have that much in return. It's like, oh, your step to your deck is loose. I can help you fix that. But I could teach you that maybe, but. Anyway, it's just been a long. I do agree with Chris. I've been feeling this traction for longer, almost at least mid-January somewhere, and I forget why and what. But when Vitelli signed that bill finally, it's not important to know why. It's just important that he did it because, just like Chris said, the two of them. Their leadership somewhat. So that tells the whole rest, okay, it's okay to sign now, you know, because like when it was 8 co-sponsors, 5 were Republicans and 3 were Democrats. I kept using that to say, what's up, bro? What up? This makes no sense. Yeah, I know it made sense. You don't want to piss off the Senate president. It's like, oh, somebody vacated a committee position. I'd like that position. Okay, did you piss off Scutari that last year or not? That's a deciding factor. It is, you know. I mean, in their minds, even if it isn't, that's the perception it could be. So it's like doing nothing becomes not only easy, but safe. You know, don't have an opinion. Don't get caught for an opinion, you know. I look at people being overrun at town halls at the federal level and think, man, wouldn't that be so cool if we started doing that for the state elections, like showing up when somebody's there? I mean, like a hit squad, you know?
Well, I think that to that point, there's a time it comes to time and place, and I think that the type of reaction you see right now is definitely appropriate to the type of overreach we're seeing.
Yeah, well, you know, moments happen, and unfortunately, with something like medical cannabis, a lot of times the things that happen are somebody dies, you know, and or like Jeff going out as publicly as possible, and you know, getting all the mileage he could out of it, like, you know, what a trooper. But you know, something, and you know, that testing. The people, the general public, their opinion matters because that's what's going to get people elected or give them pushback, you know. And we just seem to be in a really way better place. And then with the testing, people aren't going to hear too much more than test, prove that. They don't know baselines. They don't know what. So because perception really moves things more than reality, it just does. I mean, and perception and reality coincide a lot still. I'm not saying it has to be one or the other. It's just sometimes it's the perception gets it done. And you know, I think we have a lot of things going, and that test work, you know, I got to find a real simple way to put that. And that'd be good to, you know, have Andrea on, explain what's your simple way to put it. In other words, compact things for like a 5-second question without any ands or commas or anything, just point by point. We got that traction now, so this is a good thing.
Yes.
All right.
And on that note,
Mad Hatter has events coming up in a few weeks.
That's the
On
note.
the 5th, April 5th, it's not called the Tea Party, but it is a tea party here at the Mad Hatter with Dab Bar and all that stuff. This is a destination, Mad Hatter. It really is. It's a destination. There's a demarcation zone where you cross over and you can smoke cannabis.
It's a really new approach to dispensaries within New Jersey, you know, in a lot of concepts. And I'm rooting for the Mad Hatter 100%. You know, like I said, you know, they've got a killer inventory right off the bat of opening. They've got a lot of great people in there working and a lot of veterans within their group. So, and I mean that in the sense of the cannabis industry. I don't know if there's service record at all, but the point is that it's a good group of people running a good business with a good stock. And I highly recommend you guys come out for either the Earth Day or the April 5th event that they're going to be doing.
Earth Day. You mentioned Earth Day. Let's speak about Earth Day. The
not
22nd.
Earth Day. Earth Day.
No, not Girth Day. Earth Day. On the 22nd of April is Earth Day on a Tuesday, and there's going to be a huge party here at Mad Hatter. It's more than a party. It's an educational event. Jim Miller said he will be there. We're going to hold him to that. Jim Miller's going to be on a panel. He's going to be a speaker, whatever he wants to do. We're going to have panel speakers, grow classes on how to grow cannabis. We're going to have seeds. We may have clones, legal clones. We may have – just come. Come here on the 22nd. You'll see.
That's disgusting. Don't tell people to do that.
Those are things we used to say here and still do.
It's a game. It's a game. Come to please attend the event. It's going to be fun. No,
yeah, like Kamala Harris and Trump said, just come. Or no, do not come. I think Trump said do not come, and she said come. I don't remember, but it was.
No, he said. He said no. He said, but I don't know. We're not doing this. The point is, be at the event. There's going to be an awesome panel. Jim Miller is going to be on the panel. He's going to be doing a lot of hopefully other stuff. You can come talk to him. He's an awesome guy. Any of us, come say hi to any of us. I'm going to be filming content there.
We're going to be on that panel too.
Talk to some people.
Nice.
And we're going to smoke weed, have fun, and yeah.
I got a question. Can I bring like my dab setup with me?
Absolutely.
Or can I like bring my mobile setup?
You can bring whatever you want, sir. You're a patient. You can bring whatever durable medical equipment that you need to medicate yourself. I'll be joining you.
I can bring my glass setup.
Yeah, get a tent and start Paco's Glass Barn.
No, so I have the car that I bought has a built-in picnic table in the rear,
Love
so
it.
I can set up anywhere I need to medicate. So I literally just pull the table out. It's like a 2x2 table, and then I just bring my dab stuff with me. You know what I mean? So it's like the thing is that like my setup is electronic, so I don't have like torches. I do have a torch, but I don't use torches when I'm going out and about. I literally just keep my electric heater on me, and I plug it into a battery in my car, and I just keep taking dabs out of the back of my car on the table anywhere I go. So it's like my mobile command center.
That's
And,
fun.
my mobile med center.
Yeah, that's pretty
And
cool.
but so that's why I'm
Don't
asking if I can
station.
pull up my truck and like my car and then just pull out the table. Remember, Lefty, I pulled the table out when we were doing the protesting over there when we had the pizza. So
Yeah.
I want to use that table and medicate. I mean, obviously, I can't be blowing down fucking huge dab clouds in the middle of the parking lot, but if I can set up a little table for my puff core or something so I can dab, that'd be nice. I can sit down comfortably and enjoy my medication.
You got 2 acres of parking lot to use. We're going to have a tent out there. We're going to have music out there, so you'll be fine.
All right, hell yeah. So I'm going to be coming up, set up with everything, dude. Get ready. It's going to be a good day.
It's going to be a fun day. I'm looking forward to Earth Day this year.
I am too.
Yeah, it's going to be
That
a
and
good
the
day
April
for sure.
5th event.
So 4-5 and 422 here at the
What's up with
Mad
April 5th?
April 5th is the tea party. It's a tea party, but it's not called that. It's called something else. It's in the works. Working on that one.
G party.
Tea party.
No, G party.
G
We're all,
party.
like, G's. You're all your G's coming to smoke weed. A G party.
G party. I'm a G. I'm a Grimes. I'm a G.
Grimes.
The
My
police
Grimes.
officer from Dover called me today, and he read the report back to me. And I used the word butthurtedness, that the mayor's butthurtedness, and apparently it is a word. So,
No, explain the apparently part. What do you mean apparently? What did somebody challenge you in Scrabble and it was too many letters?
yeah, somebody said that they're a wordsmith. They claim to be a wordsmith, and they said butthurtedness is a word.
I just picture one of the officers openly standing up after you said that. Said, "That's not a word. Stop it."
No, it makes sense. It totally makes grammatical sense.
I used it in an official document for an IA complaint, and I'm very proud of it.
Well, if they accepted it, then there you go. You
drill them for the origin and see how far back it dates.
Lefty, you went live for that one, right? When you went to the Dover police station and kept ringing the button, and they're like, "What do you want?" I was like, "I need to make a police report." Yeah, I remember that.
Oh yeah,
that was like back in December, wasn't it?
Yeah, they're still calling me about that because it went from the prosecutor's office back to the police department. Now the police department's investigating, and I don't want the cop to get in trouble. All I want is for those 3 minutes that we speak, we could say whatever the hell we want. If I said little dick energy, they threw me out for saying little dick energy. That's ridiculous.
Well, did he prove it wasn't true?
He proved it was true. They threw me out.
That's a tongue in cheek.
What a come on. And my name is Dick, by the way. My middle name is Richard, so I'm a dick. So I'm thrown out from saying my name.
Well, you're not going to surprise anybody saying
you were thrown out for being a dick.
Again, no surprise.
Oh
he said to a crowd of people, and you're going to see this.
But to your point, Lefty, like I get what you're saying about not wanting the officer to be held accountable. Here's the thing, though. These actions repeat and these behaviors repeat if they aren't held to account. And this is the pattern that happens, is that either people like you are nice enough to say, I don't want them to be held to account. I don't want their life to come up. Or for whatever reason, the fact of the matter is, a police officer is no different than a spoiled child. If you don't put them in line and tell them when they've been wrong, they're going to keep acting up.
This is true. But there is going to be a talking to, I believe. So we'll see.
Oh, we all know how those goes. You know, the chief pulls them behind closed doors, just like, listen, I said I had to talk to you. We're just going to shoot the shit in here for a minute, whatever. I don't know. And then they walk out like, and I don't want to see that happen again.
You think they drink scotch together or beer, maybe?
No, because this isn't 1935.
They all seem to drink, and they have a bottle in their desk all the time. The police chief or the commissioner has a bottle in his desk, and they drink a bottle. I don't know. Maybe now it's weed. Maybe they switched to weed now.
Yeah, it's PCP. It's liquid PCP.
Whatever's in the evidence locker.
Aren't there a bunch of police force up north like trying to sue their township for not letting them go to work as medical patients?
New Jersey City. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know in the end how that worked out. It seemed to fluctuate. It went in their favor at first and then pushed back, and who knows?
Going back and forth.
Yeah, I don't know how it ended, but if it ended really bad one way or the other, it'd probably know. So
it's their medical right. If they're medical patients, they can't be scrutinized for it. It's the law.
So thank you, Mad Hatter, for having us here at the dispensary. It's a great dispensary. We're having a lot of fun here, and I'm really enjoying my time here at Mad Hatter. You should too. You should come on down to Mad Hatter and check it out. There's a lot more than I can even tell you. So I'll leave it at that. A lot of fun stuff here. CMMNJ, UFCW, Arlo Glass, OprahMachine.com, and SativaCross.org, where you can donate $1 or $100. You'll see it's a donate button. Hit the donate button. Hit the button.
Smack it.
And our list, if you don't feel bad, well, here, I'm going to make you feel bad. Parents, cover your children's ears. Okay, you can let them go now. Let them hear this. Let them hear this, what's going on. Cheryl Miller. And this is a list of all our friends and family that didn't make it, that are still waiting for legal cannabis. They're still waiting for...
They died waiting.
Yeah.
There's a list of people who, they're all deceased. They died waiting, or at least, and some just died helping people try to do that. People who were, whether they were a patient or considered themselves an activist, Roger Barber just trying to take care of his kid and happened to be a lawyer, and became his life. So yeah, there's just a lot. But I do liken it to well, once a year they read the names off at the World Trade Center for the same purpose, But we don't stop on any. It's just a bunch of names to a lot of people. But if people can kind of home in on the reason is, it is serious. It's real. And it affects whole families, not just the individuals we talk about. So
we got about 60 names on this list, and I've probably partaken with about 12 people on this list. Sabina Rose was a 15-month-old baby, died from a 25-hour seizure. Waiting for her cannabis card. In the mail. It was in the mail.
Dravet syndrome, a form of epilepsy.
And she had to go see a psychiatrist at 1 year old to get her cannabis card. She had to find one. Took her months to find one. Then she found one, and then they had the meeting, and Google Gaga. Okay, let her go. Get cannabis now. Really? You wasted 4 months of her life, a quarter of her life. You wasted. That's time she didn't have. All on regulations, over regulations that killed the baby. Thanks, Chris Christie.
It affected the family profoundly too. Again, it spiderwebs downhill. Adjustments have to be made by so many people. You pass by. How long does it take to say Jeremy? Right? Boom. I feel for Joanne every time I hear that. Family. Anyway, come on. Let's get this over with.
Diane, Gracie, Cindy Mae, Marie, Jack, Joan, Randy, Polly, Bill, Chad, Jeremy, Colette, Matt, Troy, Russ, Roger Barber, who I loved dabbing out for the first time ever. He fought for his daughter like nobody else, and he won. He fought and he won. He fought the law, and he won.
He won. The law lost.
The law lost. Yes. I get a smile. I get a smile when I think of Roger. When I get down the list, Sometimes it's sad, but then sometimes I just it's smiling because
Yeah, you can't. If you've seen it, I mean, I know what you're talking about. You know, it's first thing
It's
you
that
picture.
kind of energy. He had that kind of spirit. It's just simple as that.
Yeah.
That's what it sounds like.
Jay, Ella, Hattie, my grandma, who I got stoned without telling her, Jackie, Anthony, Jake, Armando. And don't do that, by the way. Don't get someone stoned without telling them. That was. I'm not setting a good example, but my grandma was 95 years old. She was suffering, and I did what I did.
There's a volcano vape bag too. So
Yeah.
you know.
So whatever.
I like that as also just like, and to be fair, she should have known when I was feeding her a vaporizer what was going on. But you know, it is what it is.
She knew and she liked it. So leave me alone. It was my grandma. I love my grandma.
She was a guest on your show.
Yeah,
about 9 years ago.
Oh yeah,
at the State House. Yeah, right. It was funny, really.
She's the best guest ever.
Yeah, she was. That was funny. You got to dig that one up, dude. Man.
I know.
Pete Christopher is right. If you can't access your shit, what good is it worth?
Right.
Right. Find it. Otherwise, I'm telling Pete.
Don't do that.
I will.
Maybe you'll get him to call me.
Well, that's a reason for me to call him.
Anthony, Jake, Armando, Felicia, Lynn, Dan, Sean, Joyce, Lori, Frank, Brian, Flo, Carl, Thorne Peters, no mens ray. He'd be laughing at all these laws and stupid things we got to do, all the hoops we're jumping through, because this is a God-given right to this plant that we should have. And here we are jumping through hoops for the government that doesn't even, that didn't allow, this is a government that had black people enslaved. That was the law back then.
So
that was good back then.
There's a clip. There's a clip I think you should start playing at the end of every episode we do here. It's from the end of the movie from The Whitest Kids, where it was called The Civil War on Drugs. Basically, a big interpretation of a big misunderstanding of the Civil War, of two people thinking it was about weed being illegalized. And there's this great scene at the end where Abraham Lincoln goes, "It's always going to be legal. It never was going to be illegal." It's a very sobering scene, and I think you should start playing it at the end of the episodes.
I tell you what, Nate really brought it home when he talked about cotton. Cotton is the biggest enemy of cannabis, and always has been. Cotton has always been the biggest enemy of cannabis. I never thought of it that way.
And the timber industry.
Timber, absolutely, yeah.
All that paper, recycled paper, they don't like that stuff. They don't like hemp paper, hemp fibers, hemp concrete.
So thank you, Thorne Peters. No Men's Ray, Frank, Lorraine, Terry, Charlotte, Cher, Jay Bird, Michael, Marley, Colette, Brendan, Red, Rico, Lou, Becky, Luanda, Chip, Paul, Lisa, Marcus, Gary, Julia, and Jeff. There it is. I don't feel better. Sorry, I don't feel any better.
But you feel validated, and you feel like your issues were seen and voiced. And again,
we see this list to remember our friends, and we want you to remember our friends. Maybe a name will pop out to you, and you'll be like, "I remember that dude, and he was cool, and he fought for patients." Or that girl was awesome. She held patients. Or she was a patient. Well, sorry to bring you all down, guys. Ho ho. I'm good. I'm glad it worked because I want you to feel like crap. This is why
at the end of the day, guys, cannabis is about good vibes and good feels, but at the end of the day, there's history behind it that we need to.
The whole time. Hey, look, it's like at the end of World War I, everybody felt real bad. Like at the end of the show, we're talking about World War I. And so, like, the Ode to Remembrance was written in honor of Australia, France, Britain, Great Britain, and the United States, in honor of all the lives lost. And, it's funny because that ode, the fourth stanza, is written in stone at the War Memorial Auditorium over a doorway, not the main one. If you're facing the main one, it's around to the left. And I guess you read the third and the fourth, sometimes just the fourth. But we found that out at the end of, I think, the last podcast of 1 year, and it's raining, and Joanne called in and said that we couldn't believe it. Yeah, you're reading it. It's right off. Oh, we got to go see it. So, yeah, it's fucking written in stone, people.
In stone, baby. That was wild. We were doing it for a year or two.
Yeah.
Right? And then bizarre.
Over the War Memorial Auditorium in Trenton.
In stone. I'm like, you couldn't even ask for anything more concrete than something written in stone.
Well, I got somewhere. I don't have it where it should be saved, but I know it's somewhere if I look back where we had a group picture taken there, like under it, so you could read it. And we're all like soaking wet because it's raining. It was like very symbolic too. It wasn't like a day in the sun and
No, it was a sad
selfieing.
day.
Yeah.
No, sad day.
Anyway, so let's rip this Band-Aid off.
Thanks everybody. We'll see you Thursday. And there's a homegrow call tomorrow. Join the homegrow call. It's very good stuff on there, so you might want to jump in.
Okay, read it off, man.
They went with songs to the battle. They were young, straight of limb, true of eye, steady and aglow. They were staunch to the end against odds uncounted. They fell with their faces to the foe. They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. Going down of the sun in the morning, we will remember them. Thanks, everybody.
Okay, good. I got to be better about getting off of here.